Hello, how are you? Today I'm going to be reading from my book, Andrew and the Magic Giveashitometer, Growing Up with ADHD. It's available on Amazon and nowhere else. I wrote it over 30 nights, 1 hour a night, and then I did not edit it. It was just put out straight as it was. It's a real ADHD stream of consciousness, and I'm going to read a chapter a day until you've heard it all. So, here we go. Andrew and the Magic Giveashitometer, Growing Up with ADHD. Welcome to my world. Welcome to my book. My name is Andrew, and I'm a consultant and trainer in the field of neurological diversity. I'm a TEDx speaker, Bamford lecturer, prolific conference speaker, and I'm contracted to multiple organisations, including universities, local authorities and training consortiums. I deliver live workshops, digital workshops, in-service training and focused classroom observations. And I have attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. People like me usually have a book out. I, however, have not. Many have often asked me over the years why, and I generally respond by saying that I haven't got around to it yet, but that's not the whole truth. The reality is that until now, I have not felt that I had anything to write about. Certainly, I could write yet another book about ADHD to sit amongst all the other books about ADHD, all telling the reader the same thing. I did not want that. If I was going to write about ADHD, I wanted it to have a purpose. So here it is, my purpose. I'm going to share with you my ADHD experience. It's a complicated old story because I never really found out about my ADHD until my early 50s. And it wasn't until I was 53 that I received my diagnosis of severe ADHD. And therefore I spent the majority of my life, up to that point, wondering why I didn't quite sit flush with the people around me. I knew that my brain was different to other people's brains because it just felt like that. I spent a great deal of time not fitting in and wondering why, and actually being deeply upset about this particular peculiar state of being. When I decided to write a book, I decided to write it the ADHD way. I gave it 1 month, 1,000 words a day, just outlining my thoughts on that day. A sort of stream of consciousness. I've written it in my own accent and my own dialect. I want to immerse the reader in my world. Now, I want to make a couple of things clear. Like I said, this is about my ADHD experience, not yours, not your son's or your daughter's or anybody else's. We are all unique in our neurodiversity, and one thing I've learned in my day job is that there is no step-by-step manual on how to educate, live with or love a person with ADHD. In fact, I would go so far as to say that the minute you think you have developed a system for ADHD or autism, dyslexia, pathological demand avoidance, PDA, or any other neurodiversity for that matter, you will have failed. Simply because you are not dealing with a type, you are dealing with individuals. Having said all that, I will talk about the ADHD community as being we or us. This is because although we are all different, there are certain characteristics and attributes that most of us share. Furthermore, people with ADHD seem to understand each other. And they understand each other with ADHD most of the time. The brotherhood, the sisterhood, I call it. I'm always asking people if they are part of the brotherhood, sisterhood, or indeed giving a hearty welcome to newly discovered members. Every human being has a neurological system for processing information and situations. This system is called executive functioning. People with ADHD have very different executive functioning processes to neurotypical people. Sometimes I describe my executive functioning as tiny bubbles. Let me explain. When I'm delivering a lecture, having a conversation, or like now, writing a book, there is very little structure. Like this book, it's more like a stream of consciousness. So imagine this. I make a statement. When I have made this statement, 10 or 20 metaphorical invisible bubbles with a diverse range of follow-on statements appear in front of me. So I pick one of them, and all of the other bubbles disappear. They pop. It's happening to me right now as I write. Next, a whole new selection of bubbles with a whole new selection of statements appears. So I choose another and poof, all of the other bubbles burst again. Repeat ad infinitum. This is why ADHD people make such good storytellers. Tiny bubbles. In this book, you can expect to find great inconsistencies. That's right, you will spot things that contradict one another. You will also find that times, facts and events are all in the wrong order, and characters enter the film at unexpected points and then just as inexplicably disappear again. And some characters whom you might expect to see just don't even turn up. Like life, really. Us lot don't gloss it up. We present things as they are. No filter, no frills and no crowd pleasing. It is my sincere hope that this book helps you look at ADHD and those with ADHD differently. This is this is neither a memoir nor an autobiography. It's a map of my brain. So my best advice is to just go with it. I will at no point knowingly try to lie or deceive the reader, but I will present it as it really is, complex and intertwined, and not just slightly chaotic. Having ADHD is hard. We are never really sure how to respond to different scenarios, and often we get it wrong. Remember this: when your child, lover or friend is reacting badly, try not to look at the anger. Instead, let's look for the trigger. The people who need the most love ask for it in the most unloving ways, and all behaviour is communication.